Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to Awesome Vacuums. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be doing a review on the Bissell PowerForce Bagged 1398. Now, this is a very special machine, and the reason for that is because this is the last PowerForce of this body style that started with Samsung originally, and then made it onto the Powerglide Bissell machines, and then eventually on here. So yeah, and the original Bissell PowerForce came out in 2002 with this body style, but it had the headlight and the bag check indicator. However, unfortunately, over the years, Bissell kind of cheapened these out. Um, so yeah, so basically, in this review, I'm gonna give a full tour of the machine, go over what was on this machine and what you can still buy now, and then I'll end the video with some pickup tests. So let's get started. Alright, so here is the last gen Bissell PowerForce Bagged 1398. So starting at the bottom here, as you can see, they on this model they did away with the headlight, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And you have the typical height adjustment, so you have low, medium, all the way to high. So yeah, and originally these were black to match the body, but since they made this with the Febreze bags and whatever, which those are horrible bags, by the way, do not buy those. I've used them before and I hate them. So I actually am running Hoover type Y bags in this, the HEPA cloth ones, which I'll show that later. So yeah, and as you can see here, uses style 7 filters and belts. So there's that. And just like most Bissells, what I really like about them is you can practically disassemble this whole thing. All you do is just undo 2 screws here, pull this out. Same on this side, 2 screws, that comes out, and then the lower hose that runs to the nozzle has a screw that just comes out, and the only tool you really need to service this machine is a standard number 2 Phillips screwdriver, which I really like that. Because despite this being a cheap machine, they at least try to make it serviceable so that it can potentially last a long time if you take care of it. So I do really like that, unlike some of the other crap that's on the market now that you can't practically service. They just want you to throw it away, buy a new one, which is so disappointing. I'm glad that Bissell decided to stick with this route. And actually, the model that replaced this, the 1739, with the new body style, that one's also practically built the same way, meaning that you can still take off the bottom and everything with the screwdriver. So I'm glad to see that Bissell is still trying to make their machine serviceable, despite them being a, budget option. So yeah, so that's enough of that. And now this was the last model to use the show you here, the glossy plastic, whereas on the newer model they did away with that, sort of. So yeah, that's just something to note. And as you can see there, premium filtration helps reduce allergens. Well, not if you're using the paper Febreze bags in this, then no, it won't. But if you use a HEPA cloth bag in this, you'll actually find the filtration is actually pretty good. So that's something to note. And now, you don't actually have to use the Hoover type Ys. Bissell also, if you go online, you can actually find some other third-party companies that actually sell the style 7 bags that are cloth, which I would highly recommend if you have one of these. So speaking of the bag, I'll go ahead and pull it out and show it to you. So this is the bag. Like I said, it's the Hoover Type Y, and these are actually really good bags. As you can see, it's actually pretty clean in here. It's not a lot of dust, especially in here. There's a little bit here, but I don't think that was from this bag though. So yeah. Anyway, right underneath there is the little emergency type filters. Basically it protects the motor in case the bag ever explodes. So that's pretty typical there. And now, unfortunately, as you can see, over the years with these machines, Bissell did cheapen them slightly, as you can see just how cheap that feels. So that is a little disappointing, but what can you do? There's a lot worse they could have done to this, like other companies have. For example, the Dirt Devil, what is it, Feather Lights? They started out as a great, decent machine for the money, but the last model they came up with was just absolutely horrible. It was so cheaply built. So I'm glad to see that Bissell wasn't as bad. So yeah. So anyway, and another thing too I'm kind of disappointed to see is they did away with the bag check indicator that would have been right here. So that's not very good. But I'm just basically nitpicking at this point. So anyway, moving on. So on this side here is the little filter. So I'll just go ahead and pull that out. So as you can see, it's just a piece of foam here, but you can actually replace it with a HEPA filter if you wanted to. So that's good. Now there's no Febreze scent on this. It's just a standard filter, so that's good. So you don't have to worry about replacing that. So just go ahead and close that up. So moving on, where should we? Oh, right up here you have the standard rocker switch. So you have, on this model, off is down and then on is up. Whereas on some of the earlier models, it was reversed. So on was actually down and then off was up. So kind of strange. However, I do really like this rocker switch setup on this machine, because they actually did away with this on the newer model. Now it has the foot switch at the bottom, which I'm not really too fond of those, because those always have a habit of failing rather quickly. These tend to last a lot longer, so that's good. Moving on to this side, here's the power cord. So quick release at the top, and it comes out at once. Now the cord did get a little shorter on these. I think the cord on this now is 23 feet, so it's not the longest, but unfortunately that kind of became the trend for a lot of the cheaper vacuums even now, to have short power cords, which is a little disappointing. And oh, I just noticed, despite me having this machine for many years, as you can see, there's no strain relief here like on some of the older models. So as you can see, the cord's kind of getting a little worn there. So yeah, that's not very good at all. But anyway, there's that. So moving on to the back of the machine, as you can see, you have a stretch hose on this model. Now, on the older machines, they did not. They just had a plastic non-stretch hose that would basically stick out kind of like that. But, I mean, I guess the stretch hose I don't have a big problem with. However, I don't really care for the clear, as you can see how dirty these tend to get. So, it's not just this machine, but it's other machines I don't really care for this type of hose. But I do like this. I don't mind the stretch hose, though. It might actually be a little better than the older models that have the hard hose. It is a little more usable. So, yeah. And then right here we have a quick release hose. So you can pull that out if it gets clogged or whatever. So just twist it, and then to lock it back in, just give it a slight twist, and it's not going anywhere. And you have the carrying handle up here now. As you can see, this machine is really lightweight. It's actually a little lighter than, actually it might even be about the same as an Auric, actually. But this has a slight edge over an Auric, in my opinion, because it has the hose on it on board. Not saying that I don't like Aurics. I just wish they had the onboard tools. But anyway, so moving on to the tools, as you can see, you have a extension wand, proper length extension wand, I should say, because the older ones, or I'm sorry, the newer 1739s, they actually shorten these, so it's about, I don't know, let's say about that short. I'm not exactly sure, but it's about that short. So yeah, it's a little more, not so much usable. And another thing they did on this 1739 is they took away this piece here, the wand on the hose cuff. So it just has a standard hose cuff, kind of like this, that goes down here. And the problem with that is that makes the hose rather unusable, because you can't really get a very high reach with it. You'd have to buy these extension wands if you wanted to still use that machine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the 1739. It is a good budget option, but I really wish that Bissell would have stuck with this wand setup on that machine. So yeah. So anyway, just like most Bissells, you have the crevice tool that comes out. And now this is not the original crevice tool. The original one this would have came with was a short stubby thing, but this one here is just a replacement I had on hand because I didn't really care for that one. So yeah, so I just decided to put this one on. And then you get the usual Bissell 2-in-1 tool that hasn't changed at all, except they did away with this tool in 1739. It has just a ordinary dusting brush, which I have to say I do really like that better than this, because these things are just horribly useless in my opinion. But it is what it is. And right here we have the lower hose that always has a habit of tearing, but in the 10 years I've owned this machine, I've not had that issue, because I have had this machine since 2015. I actually got it brand new at Walmart for $42, I think it was at the time. So yeah. So it just goes to show how long these really can last if you take care of them. This thing here has been used pretty heavily, and it still works really good, actually. So I'll just show you the rating sticker, if this thing will ever focus. So Bissell, Grand Rapids, Michigan, made in China. And one interesting thing is the original Samsung ones were actually made in Korea, but these are made in China after that. And then right here is the model, which is 1398. And then there's a serial number, and it looks like this one was built in 2014, but I bought it in 2015, so that must have just been what they had on the shelves at the time. 120 volts, 60 hertz, 8 amps. So they did drop the motors on these over the years as well when they cheapened them, because they started out with the 12 amp, then they would later switch to 10 amps, and then after that they would switch to the 8 amps that this has. So yeah, that's just something to note. And then right here we have the 3-position pedal. So right now it's just locked upright, but if I tilt it down like that, you have your 3/4 position for going over thresholds and what have you. And then if you press it again, as you can see, it actually gets pretty flat, so that's not so bad. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and tilt that up. And something else that can go wrong on these is the foot pedals. These always have a habit of going out, so the machine won't lock upright. So if I just demonstrate, it'll be like this, where it won't lock and it will fall. I haven't had that issue on this particular one though, surprisingly. This one's been pretty good. So yeah, so the last thing I'll show you is the brush roller. Just go ahead and move over here so you get the standard 13-inch brush roll that these have always had. So yeah, and you get, bristles are medium stiff. It's not, it does a pretty decent job on the this machine. The only thing my only little complaint with this brush roll is the bristles on these tend to be rather short. Let me just try and show you. And this is actually a replacement brush roll. So yeah, it's just that short, as you can see, but it's not horrible. Gets the job done. In case you guys are wondering what happened on this end here, I think it was my mom decided to use this machine one day, and she sucked up some twine or something, and it got wrapped around here and kind of distorted the bristles a little bit, which I was not happy about, but whatever. I'm not going to replace it just for that, because this brush roller is brand new. And as you can see, it angles all the dirt towards the air path here, so that's good. And you have your height control wheels, so you have 2 wheels on this side. And surprisingly, this one here has actually not been too bad. A lot of these have a habit of breaking, but this one here has not broken yet. So anyway, there's the overview. I've practically ranted for 17 minutes now, as it says on my camera here. So what I'll do now is just end the video with some pickup tests, and I'll use the machine for a few minutes, and then we'll end the video. Alright, so I got some dirt down on the floor here, so I got a little bit of dirt and some rice, so let's see how well this machine does. Not too bad. So I have to say, for a $42 machine, that's not too bad at all, actually. So just goes to show, these were really good carpet cleaners. There is a little bit here it missed, but obviously that's where the belt is, so I didn't expect that to get picked up, but that did a lot better than I thought it was going to do. So what I'll do now is change camera angles and clean the rest of this up. Alright, so that's the end of my review and demonstration on the last generation Bissell PowerForce Bagged 1398. So, what do I think of this machine? Well, it's definitely been cheapened. It's not as good as, say, the older models, but it's still a very good machine. And I do really like these PowerForces for the money. They're not bad for what they are. And if you do have your heart dead set on this design, you can still buy these as the what is it, Bissell Big Green commercial, I think, as well as the Sanitaire SL4110A, which I do have that machine, and it is a great machine as well. I'll have to do a review on that sometime. But anyway, that one has a 10 amps, so it has a slightly bigger motor than this one does. And what do I think of the 8 amps? Well, it's definitely quieter than the other ones, and it's actually not too bad, to be honest. However, the 12 amps were definitely had a little more power, but they're also a lot louder and use more electricity. So, I mean, I guess it's not so bad to have a lower amperage motor, just to at least save the electricity. So, and actually, just for fun, why don't we check the inside of the bag. So as you can see, it's still nice and clean in here, so it didn't really leak much dust. So it is absolutely important to run HEPA bags. So if you do have one of these, I would highly recommend looking into HEPA bags for it. There we are. So that's all I got for today. If you enjoyed, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Alright everyone, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.